to the Lowdown Mortgage Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the mortgage architects that are building design into their business to unlock scale and achieve freedom. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is someone who got into the mortgage business in his 20s, built his book from the ground up in his hometown of Orlando, and somewhere along the way also became a very serious vinyl collector with a record closet that immediately caught my eye when we first spoke. So Nick Muccigrosso, welcome to the Lowdown.
Hey, Connor, thanks for having me. Good to see you again.
Absolutely, man. I've got a question about the records. Do you have like a crown jewel of that collection? Is there one that was just like your white whale that you chased, or are you still chasing one?
I have a few. I like leading with vinyl. My wife will be happy that we talk about this because it's like collecting all this space in my house. There are two. There are probably two big ones that come to mind immediately. There's a really cool 80s punk band called Minutemen on SST Records, which is a same record label as Black Flag, if you're familiar, for that. And Minutemen released a double album in 1984 called Double Nickels on the Dime. And that was like the most money I've spent on a record. It was like $200.
Really?
But it's rare. Like it's pristine. It's been, it's a 40-year-old album.
Yeah.
And then the other one I would say is Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die from the 90s.
Yeah.
Those, because they didn't make a lot of vinyl in the 90s, right? Because CDs were more in vogue. So yeah, stuff from the 90s and early 2000s before vinyl was like cool again is valuable. And yeah, it's really nerdy, but I love it.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I may or may not have owned Ready to Die on.
Yes.
CD,
it's so good. It's still so good. I got kids now. That's a put on after the kids go to bed type of record, right?
Right.
But yeah, that's so good. Yeah, just the storytelling. Very cool, is amazing. Man.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, diving into it all, you started mortgage in your 20s, and like a lot of folks kind of paid your dues going after deals that a lot of people didn't want to touch. Some of the more challenging files that are out there, like the down payment assistant, Chinoa loans, things like that. When you look back on just how you got started, what did saying yes to the more challenging files early on do for you that saying no to that would have never what would you not have learned?
Yeah, I think that's so big in life, right? Is like just say yes to stuff. And when I came in, I was like relatively newly married. I was just out of grad school and really trying to make it in the mortgage biz. And I was kind of like the kid in our office. So yeah, it was just, there was an element of like, nobody wants to do this. Give it to Nick, give it to Nick, give it to Nick. So yeah, a lot of Chinoa, a lot of down payment assistance, a lot of credit challenge folks. But man, I loved it. I mean, and I still do a good bit of that, right? Because like, there's nothing for me. So I don't even know if we talked about this originally, but I came from banking, right? Before I did this. And there's nothing wrong with banking. Bankers are great. But like, I felt it was just like a little stuffy for me. And I felt a little like I couldn't reach the people I wanted to reach. I had to say no more often than I wanted to. And like I've learned over the years, right? You still can't say yes to everything, right? But like over the years, I've learned how to be more eloquent about it and be kind and be compassionate. But man, like I had just, when I worked at the bank, I was like, people would, it's not like anyone's yelling and screaming, but like people get upset. You could see them get like really defeated when you had to tell them no. So to be able to be like, yes, we can, and actually follow through on that was huge. But yeah, and you learn so much. I always joke around with my wife when like, we're all having a stressful time. This is crazy business, right? So some days, weeks are better than others. And, check in with the wife and she can tell, she's like, you're stressed out. I'm like, yeah, but nothing can hurt me now. Like I've done all the crazy files. I've seen it all. And in just I haven't, right? Just when you think you've seen it all, something new comes up and you learn something new. But yeah, I mean, my heart goes out to folks who are like, I can never buy a house. And then it's like, yeah, you can. Here we go. Let's figure it out. And also it's just those people, as long as you do a good job, you don't even have to do perfect. So when you're new, it's like, okay, this was a little mistake, but we're going to work our way around it. And we always figure out a way to get them closed and we get it done. So that was super rewarding. And yeah. And then just like with the relationships, hey, first it was Nick the Chinoa guy, Nick the condo guy, Nick the down payment assistance guy. And you do a good enough job on those, which I like to think I did. then you become just the mortgage guy. Hey, you're getting all
You're
my
like the
business
mortgage guy.
because you know what you're doing and you can handle these crazy people on these crazy files. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you got a little, I don't know if it was tough love or not, but I like to think of it that way because your dad is also in real estate. He's a realtor. And so like your first year in the business, he did not send you files. He did not send you referrals, right? And so what did it feel like when he finally started referring clients to you? And, was he just sort of waiting to see how you do, or what was there ever any conversation about that? I'm curious.
It's funny because it's so, real estate and mortgage are so hand in hand from like a referral standpoint, and people aren't going to believe me, but I swear to you, I did not even think about that when I got into this business. I was just like, I like doing loans. I was doing consumer loans at the bank, so car loans and credit cards and HELOCs and that kind of thing. So I already knew debt to income, loan to value, all that. Credit, obviously, I know how to look at credit reports. So I figured it was like the natural progression. So I remember like went to lunch with my dad and being like, I think I'm going to be a mortgage loan officer. And like, I didn't get the response that I thought that I was going to because I think he thought that there was going to be some big ask there. But I wanted to earn it. I mean, I think my dad raised us like that, where it's like, I seen my dad's been in real estate for 35 years, maybe 40 years now. Yeah, he's been longer than I've been alive. So, I mean, he knows like nothing gets handed to you, and he's been gracious and he's been an amazing partner, and we do a lot of business together now, but it wasn't ever like a foregone conclusion. So I always joke around, I'm like, yeah, I'm a nippo baby of real estate, but it's also like, we work hard and we do a good job. Like I can promise you, if I didn't, I wouldn't be getting any referrals at all. So,
Yeah.
but I think he just wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing and I was in the right industry. Because you know this better than most. It's like a lot of people try it because they have a family member and they think, oh, well, mom or dad will help me and I'll just be able to do it. And that's great. But sometimes people aren't cut out for it. So I think he wanted to make sure that I could do it. And not to mention just, it's, we all have a reputation, right? That is, I take that seriously. And I feel similarly when we refer deals, right? You're not going to refer somebody to just anybody because that's your name on the line. So it
Right.
was
No,
honestly very expected. I was not expecting to be just getting all of their business right away and be the go-to because I'm your son. I wouldn't want that.
yeah. Well, I
So
think I
yeah.
love that mentality too. Like you wanted to earn it and kind of prove your way into things, and then also like let's make sure there's some staying power here. It's a difficult industry. It's hard to, commission only, that sort of thing. So I think there's
Yeah.
a lot of work there, but I'm glad that things are working out great.
Sure.
Now
Yeah.
you've sort of gotten into a situation where you've seen the value of what most people would call like niching down or kind of being
Hmm.
known for a particular product. Right now it's kind of a cash to keys product that you have with the company you're at. How did you figure out that sort of being known for one thing would open doors for everything else?
I think it's just easy. We've learned, you kind of learn this, you do it before you learn it fully, I think, but it's hard to have like a general audience, right? We want to be like, sure, I want to help anybody who needs to buy or refinance a house, but that's so broad that it's hard for people to think of you, especially when we're talking to agents, right? They get calls from MLOs all the time. And I always try to diffuse that where it's like, listen, I'm not calling to get all your business. I'm not calling to get your easy stuff. I'm sure you have a great partner for X, Y, or Z. But I want to be able to solve a problem for you. I want to be able to provide you some clarity, provide you some certainty in this transaction. So when I came with my company about 3 years ago, I was like, well, this is a great thing. This is a great way to differentiate myself from other people in the market. And let me just focus on this. And I would tell you, you know this too, you get a lot of inquiries for a specific program. So we have one called Cash to Keys that allows people to remove a sales contingency from if they have to sell to buy their new house. And I get a lot of calls on that, and we do a lot of those. But I also get a lot of calls on that, and then we decide it's not a good fit for whatever reason. And but by that time, we've already shown our value. We've done a great job. We've built the rapport. So we're going to still do the deal, even if it's just a kind of straightforward thing. Or we do decide to use a contingency, or we decide to go a totally different route. So yeah, it's just why should you call me? Mortgage. Okay. Well, I got a person who does mortgage. Okay, but do you have a person that does this? And that's always been my approach. And I'm totally, I don't know. It's for me. I'm like, I don't ever want everyone's business necessarily. I don't know. You should
Right.
always diversify a little bit.
Yeah,
But I
and
don't
you
know.
mentioned that part of your value proposition, and maybe more important piece of the value proposition, is providing certainty versus just kind of being known as the rate guy. What does certainty look like in practice, as far as you're concerned? How do you deliver that consistently across every transaction?
Well, it's kind of built in our cash to keys process. So like we get a full underwrite and a cash guarantee to the closing. So that's like literally our company's putting their name on the line, which is super cool. And there's so much value in that I think we still haven't tapped into. But just beyond that, I mean, even, my mentor over here, he used to say, hey, to agents, hey, this is your commission guarantee. Like if I'm giving you a pre-approval letter, this is happening. So I think it doesn't come overnight. And I've definitely had loans over my career. You were when you're new and you're just like, you learn something, you're like, well, I can't do that. Like this doesn't work this way for whatever reason, some guideline you didn't see. But I mean, now at this point, almost 10 years in, it's like I know what to look for. And if I run into something new, I'm going to get you the answer. I'm going to get to the decision maker and make sure you're good to go. And I don't take that lightly because, yeah, anybody can go online and get a quote and get a prequal. And then and then I get the call, right? 2 weeks into a contract, hey, I qualified with XYZ company, and now they say I don't qualify anymore. And sometimes we can save it, and that's great. And then sometimes it's like, why did someone let you go put an offer in? Fortunately, I think a lot of those people have gotten weeded out of the business in the last 3 or 4 years. But still, I mean, that still means a lot. Your reputation means so much, and I'd like to think that when they see a pre-approval letter from me, regardless if there's anything additional like a cash offer behind it, they know, okay, if they know who I am, they're like, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's not going to mess around here. He's going to communicate and be in front of us and make sure this goes smoothly.
Yeah, well, I love the phrase that you threw out there, that you learned from your mentor, the commission guarantee to the
Yeah.
referral partner, and tying it back to what this means to you financially and what's on the line here. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the loan officer really is sort of dictating if someone's going to get paid,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If this
Yeah.
thing doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. But so I like that there's some communication there about that. Now you have a junior loan officer who joined during like the COVID time,
Hmm.
and when production slowed, they almost quit, almost left the industry,
Yes.
and but the two of you sort of found a way to have a role that would fit their strengths. What did that
Sure.
experience teach you about matching people to the right seat on the bus?
Well, it's funny. I was just happened to be talking about this today because she still works with me. Her name's Virginia. She's great. She's been a friend before we went to college together. So she's been a friend before we ever worked together. But I think everyone, like, for example, like when I got into this business, people wanted me to be a junior first. And I was like, I don't know if I have the gifts for that, the organization and all that little stuff. I'm like, I do much better at the relationship stuff and the structuring and all that for sure. But some of the minutia I just glaze over, and yeah, I can handle it, but there's other people that do it much better. So Virginia was like, I don't know if this is for me, because sales isn't for everybody. And it's a lot of uncomfortable conversations, and just I don't know, not people aren't always comfortable with it, right? People don't like rejection. But anyways, I think, yeah, she basically came to me and said, hey, I don't know if I want to do this. And we just figured out a way to make it work. And we're like, hey, what if we just keep you on, and you're doing some more of this admin stuff, which ended up working out really great. Because I think in any business, I know in ours, like you need people that complement each other. And so many of my favorite realtors to work with were like complete opposite, right? But like we complement each other, because stuff that they're not going to be strong at, I will, and stuff I'm not going to be strong at, they will. And same thing with people within your team. So I think we complement each other really well. And I think it's specializing is key, right? So that's been really great, and it's been really rewarding, makes
Well,
my life easier. And yeah.
I think there's a lesson to be learned in that. I personally have a feeling that the next kind of merger opportunity in our business is not necessarily we're going to see more merger acquisition between company and
Hmm.
company, but I do think there's like a loan officer merger moment waiting for us here, where we're starting to see, like, kind of how you just described it. You have someone who has a talent for part of the job, but maybe not for all of it. There's really talented loan officers that know how to structure the loan, that know all the guidelines, that know what's the right product, and have all the solves and solutions. they just don't want to go to lunch with some
Yeah,
realtor.
yeah,
They don't want to
yeah,
get out there and prospect and be told no and take that punishment, but they love to help people get into homes. And so I think there's opportunity in our industry to identify that and find the originators that are on the rise and that need the support, and then partner them with someone who maybe doesn't want to do the sales side but is very talented. Because the alternative is, let's post a job for a loan partner, which is a really odd job in the world of jobs,
yeah,
where it's going to be very difficult to find someone with experience. And depending on where you are in the country, that typically means you're taking someone from a different industry, a different job altogether, and teaching them mortgage versus maybe the answer is right there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so I'm glad you guys found it.
Well, one thing to add to that too, actually, it just came to mind because I was talking about this at lunch today with some clients. I knew she would be a good loan partner because I helped her and her husband buy a house like 2 years prior to that. And she asked me a million questions. And like, just because she wanted to know, she's that kind of person, right? Like when I bought my house, obviously I knew I knew what I was signing, but it's also like, I'm like, whatever. Yeah, cool. That works. I got a million questions during the transaction. But then when this all kind of came together, I was like, this makes so much sense because just like thinking down the line, detail, 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 and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna
hey,
go
some
with the
people are
flow
detail
guy
people and
sometimes.
some people
Yeah,
aren't.
yeah, yeah. So that's been a blessing.
Now,
Yeah,
something I learned about you and that you shared with me was that, somewhere between 30 and 50% of your closings every year are coming from people, and that you're, pretty good at working the database. You call people throughout the year, reach out over text, whatever it is, but you're making the effort. Not everybody does that. What does one of those calls look like, or how do those outreaches work for you? How are you kind of trying to stay connected to the people that you've done business with before?
I mean, first and foremost, it just comes with calling, right? Hey, you got to do it, and I know it seems like we're so busy all the time, but I mean, you have time, right? I was in the car 20 minutes each way from a lunch meeting with some new home buyers that are hopefully going to be buying in a few months, and I called like 5 or 6 past clients, and I got a hold of 2, and we had a little catch up, and the other people I just left voicemails for, but you got to do it. And I don't know. I'm not necessarily of the school of like you have to be best friends with all your clients. Like I think that's really unrealistic in our business. Like some people, great, yeah, we've become friends, and that's great, and we know about family and kids and life and whatever, right? We've hung out and stuff, and that's fun. But some people, it's just being a human, right? Like I think everyone knows what I do, but I think the biggest thing is I don't want it to feel like a sales call. Like I get the like a little bit of the ick from that where it's like I'm not sure you know what I do. Like if you need mortgages, you're gonna like you remember. Hopefully, I've done a good enough job to be like, oh, that's the guy who helped us with our mortgage, right? But even if that, it, it's just a hey, how's it going? And it's gratitude. Really, I think is where I have to like leave. I have to start and leave the conversation with gratitude. If nothing else, let's say I don't remember anything about this person for whatever reason because sometimes you just don't connect with people, right? It's all through email. You have like 2 phone conversations and that's it. And that's okay, right? Again, I don't what everyone has different preference for what they need in their loan officer. But even if it's someone I barely remember anything about, I'll just call them and say, usually it's around their like home anniversary. Hey, it's been 5 years since you bought a house with us. And I just want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate you working with us. I hope you're still loving your new place. And hope you have a great week. And that's really it. Like, no, if you need me for a refi, no, if you know any friends or family, because like that you lose it all. Then like
Yeah. Well, but I love that you
yeah,
keep it
yeah,
simple, and
yeah,
it's really just, hey,
gratitude.
remember me, right?
Yeah,
I'm here and I appreciate that we've worked together, and how's the house? What do you
yeah,
think? Like, how
yeah,
are things, right? And it's just quick, easy, simple, human,
yeah,
and keeps a relationship alive that otherwise, I mean, you let that go for a few years, they start to forget who their mortgage guy was, or they start to question if you're even
yeah.
still the mortgage guy
Sure,
anymore.
yeah,
And someone else recommends somebody, and they're like, yeah, I'll just talk to, Sally's mortgage guy. And because they haven't heard from you in a few years and
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So
Well,
I
yeah,
think
I
that's
never get mad when I see, like, we all see it on Instagram or Facebook, the closing with somebody else, and you're like, wait a second, I know that person. But it's like, well, when's the last time I've called that, right? It's like your mom or your grandma or your aunts and uncles say, phone works two ways. So if you're not keeping in touch,
exactly.
so, yeah, so
We've
got to
all had
do it.
that conversation before.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
don't
but
you
I mean
call
that,
me?
yeah. So that's what it's about.
So right now you're at a place kind of professionally where you're focused on like honing in the efficiency of things and not necessarily on growing volume, although that's still important. And that, getting to a place where closing 10, 11, 12 loans a month still feels like closing three. Like it's not any harder than closing three. And when you have the right setup, that's the way it should be. So what did it take for you to like believe that that was possible?
Hmm.
Like, when did that really click for you?
I mean, I think you have to realize what you need to make that happen. And you don't necessarily know. Sometimes, like, especially during 2020 and 21, deals are just falling out of the sky. We were losing our minds some weeks. But again, just like the tough deals when I was new, I'm not afraid of it. Like, I can handle it, I think. And I do like a pipeline review mentally, like every day, just for 15 minutes. Okay, is everything good? Okay, cool. Anything I need to be like, woo, woo, siren going off. But also, yeah, have the infrastructure, have my loan partner, have, communication with my processors and my underwriting manager and my management. Because, stuff happens on loans. So if something is going sideways, can somebody help me solve it quickly without me losing a whole day? But I think also I learned this. I went to NAREP. This was years ago, 2019 in San Diego. Good excuse to go out west because I'm over in Florida. We had a very fun time. But beyond that, we talked for Lizzie Hofer, who's like one of the top originators in the country, like crazy volume. And she said something that's still stuck with me today. This has been 7 years. A fire at 9 a.m. is still going to be a fire at 11 a.m. So I think so many loan officers get stuck in that, where like that thing that's keeping you up at night is the first thing you come in and try to handle. And it's like, I'm not saying ignore everyone, but I'm saying, like, if you got a realtor calling you at 9 a.m. because something was happening, like, you have to prospect. Like, hey, give them a quick little something quick, but or else you lose all your momentum. So,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times the fire at 9 a.m. is out by 11 a.m. because the person who's supposed to handle it's handled it anyways. Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
there's a little bit of that, right? Where, yeah, it's got to, but the infrastructure has to be there and you have to communicate what you need. And, I've been in a handful of different companies over the last 9 years. So it's been different at different stages. But I've never been afraid to be like, hey, I need this. Like, you got to help me with this because I need this to do this so I can go and go get more.
right. Well, and I think the comment you make about the fire at 9 is still a fire at 11. It's come up before on the show where,
Sure.
this was a previous guest where they put into their day like what they called the oh shit hour. And it was
Sure.
just,
Yeah.
it was like this was the hour of the day where they would go and address all of those sort of moments that were popping up throughout the day and, status check on them like, hey, is this still a problem? And to your point, often it was no longer a problem. Someone had panicked in the moment, reached out to who they thought was the best person to get the answer from. And then when they didn't get the immediate answer from that person, they found someone else and eventually it resolved. And that was a big like game changer for that particular LO because what they were doing before that was ambulance chasing all day
Yeah.
and,
It's a
not
good way
really
to kill
having the
momentum.
focus. Yeah, exactly. And so like things would just get kind of spread out all over the place. And then next thing you know, you don't accomplish anything. So,
Right. Yeah. You've been putting out
so
fires
I
from
love
9
that
till
call
2 o'clock. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. Lizzie Hofer, shout out. Yeah. That was killer. Stuck with me.
Awesome. So if you were going to send like a 1-page document to, every realtor in Orlando that explained what it's like to work with Nick, like what would it say? And, have you written something like that yet?
So I like the question and I did think about it a lot, and this is a little cheesy, but I like it. I kind of mentioned it earlier. So my last name is Muccigrosso. It's 2 C's in Mucci, right? So the 2 C's, it's clarity, and that means communicating, consistency, being like transparent, like peeling back the curtain a bit, because I think people think they're not allowed. Like, you can ask me, I'll explain it to you. Again, if you want me to just, hey, here's what everything looks like, go sign it, cool. If not, hey, let's talk through everything. So clarity and certainty. So, hey, listen, when you're working with me, you're going to be aware of what everything looks like. Everything's going to be as it seems. We're going to overestimate your numbers, so on and so forth. And we're going to close, and we're going to close on time, and we're going to make sure everything runs smoothly. And I think that's the best thing I can offer because I don't know, that's important to me.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. I mean, it doesn't have to be some elaborate, over the top, crazy. Like, keep it simple,
Yeah.
make it memorable, and and make it deliverable. Don't overpromise something that you can, like, say I can do this every time, and then
Yeah.
paint yourself into that corner, and then have to apologize your way out of it. Stick to what you can do, and then just do it every single time, and
Yeah.
people recognize that. Well, I know I've asked you a lot of questions, Nick, and it's been great kind of getting your story out there and learning a little more about you and the way your business is built. But I want to give you a chance before we say goodbye, just to kind of speak your mind. I don't know if there's anything that maybe you thought of as we've been talking, or there was something you were hoping to have an opportunity to mention while we were, recording this. But I want to give you the floor, and stage is yours. Whatever you want to say.
Okay, all right. I shouted out some other people. I'll shout out my beautiful wife Megan and my two kids, Jamie and Julia. But it also I don't know. Just I'm sure it's a lot of like real estate mortgage people listening to this. So I think this is a really fun industry and it's really rewarding and it's also really stressful. But if you have if you if you want to do it, keep doing it. And I think especially this last 4 or 5 years of market with everything since COVID. Even COVID, we all think about, oh, it was so great. It was crazy, man. It was out of control. Rates were low, but there was so much other dysfunction with all this other stuff, right? So that being said, keep doing it. Find what you like and what you're not good at and what you don't like. Try to see if you can find somebody else who can do it better and keep doing it. I don't know. I think that's the secret to a lot of stuff in life. Just keep at it. Keep chipping away.
Hey, I love it, man. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on the show and, just being open and willing to kind of share your story. For anyone listening, before you go, if anything that we talked about today on the podcast, resonated with you, I want to point you toward two things. First, there's the Lowdown Mortgage Community newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter with content built for producers who are ready to build something bigger. You can subscribe to that at www.lowdownmortgagecommunity.com/subscribe. And don't forget, Lowdown is just LO. There's no W. And then second, if you're closing, in the range of 8 to 12, 15 loans a month, something like that, and you've got that feeling that something in your business needs to change, but you can't quite put your finger on it, I want you to try out the Lowdown Diagnostic. It's 3 assessments, will take you 5 to 10 minutes, and it gives you a real dollar figure on what your current setup is costing you every month. Those that have taken it have shared how much it uncovered for them and really appreciated the recommendations that it provided. Check it out for yourself. lowdownmortgagecommunity.com/diagnostic. Both links will be in the show notes, and I'll see you next time. Nick, thanks again. I appreciate you.
Connor, thanks for having me. Yeah, this was fun. Appreciate you so much.